Look at the beautiful Hudson River. I'm going to introduce you to a very quick and easy trick you can use to reduce your stress and your worry and your confusion, actually, about a lot of issues. And all you need is a piece of paper. You could do it on your phone or your computer, whatever. In every situation, the thing that makes us unhappy and miserable and frustrated and angry and annoyed is that more often than not, we are trying to control something that we cannot control. So there are two things that can happen in this world. There are things you can control and there are things you cannot control. And we get it all muddled up. And we get annoyed and frustrated and pissed off because most of the time we're trying to control something that we cannot control. Example, your husband leaves dirty socks on the floor every day in the bedroom. You've said it a million times. Please pick up your socks, or why are you so gross? However you chose to say it. And yet it still happens. That's an example of something you cannot control. You cannot control other people's actions. You cannot control what other people think about you. And this leads me to a very important point around weight loss and how we look, how we feel that we look in our bodies. Oftentimes we are afraid of being judged for being overweight, for having belly fat, for not being fit, for being late, people thinking we're lazy, whatever it is that we think that other people think about us. The truth is we cannot control what other people think about us. We cannot control what other people think about us, no matter how hard we try. We think that we are doing that, but we're not. People think what they think and they do what they do, and we cannot control that. So the sooner that we recognize that and stop trying to do that, the sooner we will all be happier. So that's really important when it comes to weight loss. If you're trying to lose weight because you want to look a certain way in a bikini, there is nothing wrong with that. I applaud that. I think it's fine to have those goals. That is part of your why you want to achieve what you want to achieve. But remember that you cannot control what other people think about you. So if you didn't reach your goals, do you really have to worry about it? Because people are going to think what they think anyway, no matter what you do. So that's a big part. So if you're struggling with something, if you have a problem and you keep running into it and getting frustrated and annoyed and angry at yourself, because I think that's a lot of times what we do, take out a piece of paper or your phone or whatever and make a list. And on the top of the first list, it says things I can control. Whatever situation, write down the name of the situation. Things I can control, and then the other list is things I cannot control. And list them out. And you'll be surprised how many things you're trying to control that you cannot control. So the one example that we use, my husband and I were talking about this, and he was saying, if I'm taking a hike in the woods and I'm lost, I realize that I'm lost, or I've come too far and I'm tired and I know I have to. This actually happened to him. He ended up doing an 8-mile hike in the snow. It was too much, but he had already gone 4 miles into the path. So he could either have turned around and went back, or he could have kept going. But either way, he knew he was going to have to go 4 more miles, and he was exhausted. And all he wanted to do was be airlifted home. Now, in that situation, there are certain things that he could control and certain things he could not control. What could he control? Well, his thoughts and actions, right? What could he not control? Well, he was there. He was already there. He couldn't undo what he did. So in that moment, he could let go of his frustration and anger at himself for having gotten himself into that situation. And then he could have said, well, what can I control? Well, you can control your pace of walking. You can control whether or not you take 5 breaks on your way back. You can control whether or not you call somebody and say, hey, I'm frustrated. Those are all things you can do. You can also control your thoughts. So you can sit there and be angry and pissed off and frustrated that you got that far, or you can control your thoughts and say, wait a minute, that's something I cannot control, so I'm going to let that go. And that's, I think, a great analogy of what happens to us when we're eating, right? It's like we get pissed off at ourselves for what we did yesterday. Well, you can't control the past and you can't control the future. You can only control your thoughts and your actions in the present moment. That's it, babes. You can only control your thoughts and your actions in the present moment. And these thoughts are inspired by Epictetus. but they're also inspired by the teachings of Gay and Katie Hendricks of the Foundation for Conscious Living. So kind of combining those things with my experience with eating and how, it's so easy to blame yourself for something you did yesterday. And this piggybacks off of a blog post I wrote last week about how research shows that when you do that, when you berate yourself for past actions, it only makes behavior worse. And there have been multiple studies done on this for diet and other areas. So not only can you not control the past, so why get angry at yourself about it, but it actually could lead you to eat worse, to do worse with the eating. So keep that in mind. And the other last thing I want to note here, which is very, very important, is it's okay to experience and feel your anger about what you did in the past or what somebody did or whatever, things that you cannot control. It's okay to feel that anger, but you got to work through it. Don't dwell in it. And that's my own thoughts on that. Anger is an emotion that a lot of women suppress. It's not okay for us to be angry. We think that, right? Let yourself feel that emotion, work through it, understand why you're feeling it, recognize you cannot control whatever it was that you did, and then do some yes breaths, do some fear melters, do some breath work, whatever it is. Take a walk, take a jog, chat with somebody, and let it go. Let it go. Experience it, and then throw it off into the wind. And that, my dears, is all of those are very helpful tools for increasing your happiness and decreasing your stress, which so many people have so much more of even now due to COVID and everything. So I hope that this is helpful and you have a beautiful, beautiful Hudson River day, even if you're not on the Hudson River.